Hanh, continuous, ever changing, the nature of a river, the cinematographic nature. Fifth, dẫn từ quả. Dẫn means to lead. Từ quả its own fruit. Because each seed has its own characteristic. Although it's changing, but it retains its particularities. Like a grain of corn, although always changing, but remains a grain of corn. And when you plant the grain of corn, you have a plant of corn. You don't have a plant of beans. You see? So all the seeds maintain its own characteristic, although they are ever changing. There can be some modification, OGM. Organism we can influence and transform and purify the seeds. But the seed always preserve its nature. Genetically, it can be modified. It can acquire a better quality, but it remains the same nature. So when we speak of the eight consciousness, store consciousness, we have to speak of the capacity of maintaining, of processing, which means the subject, and we have to speak at the same time of the object of store consciousness, which is the totality of the seeds. And all the seeds have these kind of characteristics. And from store consciousness, other consciousness manifest, because store consciousness is the basic consciousness, the background consciousness. We have learned, we have seen already mentation, the seventh consciousness, manas. We have seen also the sixth consciousness, which is mental consciousness, mind consciousness, and we have seen the five senses consciousness. And all these consciousness are called evolving consciousness. Evolving consciousness means they have the seed down here, and they manifest on the above level. The other seven consciousness, they do have the seed in store consciousness. And speaking of manifestation, we have to speak about the conditions. This helps us to understand better the way consciousness operates. We should remember the for at least the teaching of the 4 conditions. The first condition is seed condition. Seed condition. Without seed, nothing is possible. If you don't have information in the disk, you cannot do anything. You have to plant the seed. You have to nourish the seed. You have to preserve the seed. If the seeds are not there in store consciousness, store consciousness cannot be called consciousness. And if the seeds are not there, the other 7 consciousness cannot manifest. That is why seed is so important. Suppose we have a seed of corn, and we know that there is a possibility of having a plant of corn and a few years of corn to eat. So that is the first kind of condition called nhân duyên. Nhân duyên. The Chinese way of writing seed is very interesting. Hetu. Hetu is the term in Sanskrit. See, there is a limit. And that is why the big thing in it is still keep in that limit. Although it is keeping this limit, it can become very big. And that is why this is seed. This character means big. And the big is already existing in the small. And if you allow the condition to come in, the small will become the big. And the second kind of condition is tăng thượng duyên. Supporting cause. You have the seed of corn, but you need the water, the sunshine, the soil, the farmer, in order to have the seed of corn to be sprouted and to become a plant of corn. And these conditions are called supporting conditions. You have the seed of the Buddha inside, Buddhahood. Small, but if you give it a chance, Buddhahood will bloom. But you need conditions. You need a Sangha, you need Dharma friends, Dharma brothers, Dharma teachers, you need practice centers, you need a kind of environment, situation where the seed of the Buddhahood can manifest to the maximum. So conditions, supporting conditions. But supporting conditions are of 2 kinds. It's either along the way, along the direction, same direction, or the opposite directions. Sometime on your path, you encounter obstacles. As a practitioner, you may have obstacles like you have sickness, you have a Dharma brother that is very difficult to handle. If everything is smooth, well, you don't have to mention about it. That is along the way. That is a set of supporting